Hello everyone, welcome to my new YouTube channel, and it gives me great pleasure to invite you to watch my very first interview that I made with a dear friend of mine called David Anania. He's from New York and he lives in Berlin. We met in Berlin. He's an incredible drummer. He plays for the Blue Man Group at the moment, which is an incredible theatre, very interactive show in the heart of Berlin, very famous worldwide. Touring company. We became good friends. We have a lot in common, similar musical tastes, etc. And it was a great pleasure to invite him to my studio to make an interview and find out more about what he's been doing and what he's got planned for the future. So here it is in all its glory. This is the very first interview I have conducted in my studio, and there are going to be plenty more to come. So enjoy, please leave a comment, and please subscribe to my channel. There will be many more where this comes from. So see you soon. Bye. So, how you doing? Welcome to my first interview.
Oh my God, there's no pressure.
Yeah.
None.
So, David Anania, that is how you pronounce it.
That is how you pronounce it. Very well.
My
Very
dear
well
friend
done.
David, who I met in Berlin all those years ago.
Yeah, back when we were young.
Yeah. Thanks for coming along, and thanks for being part of my first proper YouTube interview. And I couldn't have wished a finer musician than yourself to be here.
Ooh.
Seeing as you're here to watch the New York Yankees, you can tell us about that if you like.
Yeah, I might have to.
Yeah. Well, let's get straight to the nitty gritty here, as we say in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you about your drumming. You're an amazing drummer. I've seen you play live.
Thank you.
And I want to ask you, when did you start playing drums, and when did you realize you wanted to become a professional drummer?
Wow. Well, I started playing drums when I was 4 years old, and my older brother he's 10 years older than I am to the day. Like, we had the same birthday, and so it's kind of cool. First of all, he was a drummer actually, but with the age difference, he was already off like in high school by that time, and so I was, just a 4-year-old kid wandering around the house. And one day I stumbled on his drum set, and that's what started it all, really. And I mean, for the first, 4 or 5 years, I was playing along with records. I think, my household had a really interesting and eclectic variety of music being played. Like, my father was an actor, so we had like Broadway musical soundtracks, and both of my brothers were into different styles of music. And my oldest brother was into more like kind of classic rock, like at that time I guess it was like the Allman Brothers and the Beatles. They were huge for him. And my middle brother, Johnny, the drummer, was a huge Genesis fan.
Oh yeah.
And when I was 9 years old, so a few years after I started banging around on the drums, he played a couple of tracks from the Seconds Out record.
Oh well.
And that's what changed it all for me. It was like I heard the double drumming of Phil Collins and Chester, and also with Bill Bruford. And it was that sound and the combination of that, and then it was a live recording, so you heard like the audience responding, and just the style of music that was on that record, like super prog, odd time signatures, which is weird because I was 9, and so I don't know if it's like a normal thing for a 9-year-old to be blown away or so wonderfully affected by that style of music, but that's what did it for me. And so it was like I've always said that it was that record that changed everything, where I finally decided that that's what I wanted to do as a career.
Yeah, I can fully relate to that.
Yeah, I bet you can.
Well, when was your first job, your first paid job? So in other words, when did you first go professional?
I mean, I had a one-off when I was in high school, like playing at a friend's dad's boat club or something. And so it was like 3 of us playing jazz, like high school jazz standards, and maybe like a couple of pop songs or something. But that was when I was in high school, so maybe 16 years old, maybe 17. But my first like actual job, I played for a full summer at an amusement park outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a place called Valley Fair, and that was my first like real, like full on paying job, and it was from late May through August, and so that was it. That was my first gig.
Excellent.
It was great. I mean, it was fun for a 19-year-old. I was psyched to be making music and getting paid for it. It's really a great opportunity.
Yeah. How did you get the job with the Blue Man Group, and how long have you been with them? And for those of you who don't know who the Blue Man Group are, perhaps you'd like to explain.
Yeah.
I saw you with the Blue Man Group about a year and a bit ago in Berlin.
Yeah.
Absolutely superb. So
Thank you.
Perhaps
Thank you.
tell the viewers what it is, if they don't know already. And
it's a hard show to describe. What I will say is that it's a really cool and interesting, like kind of weird combination of like kind of punk but tribal rock music, and comedy and sort of theater kind of in one show. And it's about like the three main characters. The Blue Men themselves are basically egoless beings that are kind of on a discovery process. So it's a weird situation where there's not a real plot to the show. There's no dialogue. They don't speak. But the idea is that the Blue Men come from somewhere that isn't where we're from. And they're trying to learn more about who we are by discovering certain things about our culture, like pop culture specifically. And their innocent and unique take on what they come across, whether it be music or trying to connect with us through art or science, and like just trying their ways of connecting with the audience is what makes the show really unique and really interesting, and that's basically what it's about. But since they don't speak, they communicate mostly like with how they're looking through their eyes, and then also through music. And their music is heavily percussive. So that's kind of a basic description of the show and why I love playing it so much. I became friends with a guy named Ian Pei, who was the original drummer for the show and helped create the music for it back in the late 80s in New York City. And so he wrote a lot of the original drum parts. And through my dear friend, bass player friend Jim Anton, who I was in a band with in Minneapolis, I got to know Ian, who was by that time back in New York, because he and Jim knew each other from studying together in Minneapolis, or from the same university. And so Ian and I became good friends, and he played, at that point, I guess it was either the final rough mixes or the masters for the first CD from Blue Man Group called Audio. And when I first heard that music, it was multiple drummers drumming at the same time, which totally reminded me of the drum duet stuff and the dual drumming that Phil and Chester did, or Phil and Bill Bruford. And I fell in love with what the compositions were. And so I said to him, and this was in April of 2000, I was on the road touring with a singer named Shannon Kerfman at the time. And I heard the CD at Ian's place, and I said, if you ever have an opening in one of the shows, especially New York, like I was kind of flirting with the idea of leaving Minneapolis and going back to New York, which is where I'm from. And I said, please let me know. And 4 months later, I get a phone call from him, and he's like, yeah, we're looking for someone for the New York show. So right at the time of the auditions, it's like everything lined up uniquely perfectly. And when my tour was done, they had auditions in like mid-October.
What year was this?
This is 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, October of 2000. And so by that time, the show had been open for 10 years. And there was a show in New York, Boston, Chicago, and Las Vegas. And the opening, like I said, was for the New York show. And I was like, okay, I have to do it. So I flew out and I auditioned, and I made it to the callbacks, and it took a week. Like the whole process took a week. And so on Friday, I was just about to board my flight back to Minneapolis, and I hadn't heard anything. I was told that everything went really well, but I know that there were other drummers who were great, and these drummers actually lived in New York. So for me, I was kind of like, well, I didn't hear anything. So I called the theater and I thanked them. I had to leave a message because they weren't answering. I said, thank you for the audition and the experience, and I appreciate it, and I hope you find who you're looking for. And within 3 minutes, like right before I was supposed to board the flight, I got a call from the company manager, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, sorry, we forgot to we forgot to call you. You got the gig." And I was like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And so I got on the flight, and a week later, I packed at the time I was driving like a Mazda 626, and I packed it with everything I could, and I left Minneapolis and drove to New York City. That was the beginning of it all.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it wasn't the end.
No, it was, it's funny. I wouldn't have told you that, if you would have asked me almost 19 years ago if I'd still be doing it, I'd be like, probably not. Like, I didn't even know how long it would last in the first place. But
well, it's interesting because I think it's so important to chase opportunities when they arise.
Yeah.
Because you never know where they're going to lead.
Exactly.
And it certainly led you down a very, very fun and fruitful journey so far.
Yeah.
Tell me about your album. When did you start writing it? What inspired you? And how do you feel now that you've finished it?
Okay. The CD is called Reinvent the Field. And I actually started writing it about 10 years ago. And it first came about through the song which ended up being the title track, which is Reinvent the Field, which when I first started writing it was, I think, 2006. And it was my commentary on, I guess, the MTV generation, which, by that point, MTV became everything but music television for the most part. It was just like a lot of reality shows and drama this, drama that, and, maybe a music video thrown in every once in a while. And just like how formulaic the videos had become. So for me, like the title track, Reinvent the Field, was just about getting back to what music, for me at least, what music really is. Maybe a little bit more live than what it had become.
What musical plans do you have in the future?
It's a good question. I will continue to play Blue Man Group for as long as I can. I mean, I still love the show. Every night, I mean, it's a different show from night to night due to the interaction and communication with the audience, and also due to the fact that it's not always the same cast. We switch off. There are 2 drum positions and 2 string positions in the show, and we don't necessarily play the same one from show to show. And the same thing with the 3 Blue Men. So it always feel a little bit different, and musically we'll have to kind of shape the show differently depending on what's going on with the audience, and it makes it really special and unique. So, I always look forward to going to work, and I play with incredible performers, and they're great people, they're friends of mine. So for now, it's that. I'm definitely getting back into composing again. I took some time off after the CD because it took quite a lot out of me. But I'm currently finishing up a ballad that I'm really, really happy about and excited to put out. And I've got a full CD's worth of material ready to go. So I don't know if I'm going to go with a full CD yet, because I know what that takes. But I'm definitely going to go, at the very least, like song by song basis, and put some new music out before the end of this year, before the end of the summer.
Oh, that'd be great. I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
And where can we hear and buy your music?
That's a very good question, Chris. We're gonna put up links that you will all be able to look at.
They certainly will be there.
They will definitely be there. You can buy the CD directly from me. I've still got a few physical copies left, and there will be a PayPal link that goes directly to me. Also, you can buy it on iTunes, Google Play, or Amazon CD. It's also available on streaming platforms, Spotify for sure. So if you want to go check it out and see if it's your thing, feel free to go check it out. And if you like it, then I obviously am extremely grateful for anyone who would like to purchase their own copy.
Well, you gave me a copy, and I think it's excellent. It's
Thank you.
amazing music and wonderful drumming on it, and I really mean that.
Thank you.
And there are certain huge overtones of Genesis on there. So for all the Genesis fans, the Phil Collins fans out there, you're going to love this.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
So the links are all down there, on the see below for more details, as we say in YouTube land. Excellent. What advice can you give to musicians who are just starting out or are wanting to start out on a musical path as a career? What advice and what words of wisdom can you give?
This is a great question, because especially now, like even from when I first got into the music industry, it's completely changed. Like how music is heard, how it's purchased, on what music is being listened to. Like, so it's such a different beast now. But the main thing that I can say is that, like, from my experience, like I had many people over the course of my educational years in college, and gigging in my stint living in Minneapolis, and I had a lot of input, a lot of which was extremely positive, but I also had people that were like, well, you should get a real job to fall back on, or get a teaching degree so you can teach. And luckily I also had a very supportive family. My parents were supportive, my brother, and both of my brothers were musicians, so that wasn't a problem. And I know that's not always the case with people who want to be performers, musicians, as we're speaking now. But all I will say is that if you love what it feels like to play music and to write it, or to do both, or to do just one of them, if it feels like you lose track of time when you're doing it, do it. Go for it. Don't be afraid to fail. There will be no's along the way. Doors will close. Other doors will open. The main thing is if you really love it and if you feel it, go for it. Like, be the dreamer.
And never give up.
What's that?
Never give up.
Yeah, never give up. Never give up. And definitely, you're going to be faced with obstacles, but
they're there to test everyone.
Yeah.
And
yes.
The true meaning of success, or I think the path to success is by obliterating those obstacles.
Absolutely.
Because they are going to be there.
They are going to be there, and you do have the power to get them out of the way.
Absolutely.
Or to go around them. However you need to get past them, you have the ability to do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't, because you do, and I'm an example to that.
Yes.
So that's my main advice. If you love it, if you're passionate about it, if it feels right, do it.
And I couldn't think of a better ending for this very, very first YouTube interview. And being passionate about your music actually led you here to London this weekend because you're passionate about something else. And perhaps you'd like to tell
We're going there?
Are we really going to tell the
All right,
why you're here.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm actually in London this weekend because I'm a native New Yorker. I was born and raised about an hour north of New York City, and I am a lifelong New York Yankees fan, baseball team. And this weekend they had what is called the London Series 2019, which is the first ever professional baseball game being played in Europe between the longtime rivals. Like almost 100 years this rivalry has been intact, and it's the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. And so they are playing the first ever European baseball game, well, professional game in Europe. They're playing that this weekend at the Queen Elizabeth London Stadium. And I went to the game yesterday, the first ever game, and the Yankees won. And it was a slugfest, and it was awesome. So, I came here for my love of baseball. But it gave us the opportunity to talk about some music, and this is an honor to be like the inaugural episode for your series. So thank you. It's my pleasure. It's really.
The pleasure is all yours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant to do, right?
It's an absolute honor to have you here, David.
I think.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the very best for all your future endeavours, and hope to catch up with you sometime in the not too distant future, wherever it may be on this beautiful planet.
Yeah, well, I think you and I we need to talk about being on each other's next recordings.
Well,
let's try to make that happen.
That is definitely on the calendar. So,
Good.
and soon I shall be recording my album, and I would love to have you make an appearance on there at some point.
I'll even come over here without the baseball game.
Okay, that's a deal then. That's a deal. that's a good deal. That's a good deal. And if the baseball is on whilst you're supposed to be doing the drums, then I might let you go and watch the game.
Oh, that'd be really nice.
Yeah.
Because I can't concentrate on it.
Well, David, thanks again.
Chris,
and
it was a pleasure.
Nice to have you here. And
it's great to be
have
here.
a safe journey back to Berlin, where you're living.
Thank you.
And continued success with the Blue Man Group. And let's meet again soon. And all your links are below, so please check David's wonderful album out, and we'll be hearing from you again soon.
Excellent.
Take care.
You too.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
So what's the genesis?
Good.
We get it.
The wicked
Yeah, we got
polyrhythmist with the sticks. A thespian son, phenom on the drums. Made the move to 612 as soon as school was done. Got a job as a Keystone cop, getting hot, playing Sarah at the fair. Wasn't too damn long before Beanie came along, and you know, it was all uphill from there. They were cooking with greens, Anania was a beast. But when the kitchen blew up, he made the blue movies. Now he's living in Deutschland, he's always on point, man. No matter what the continent, he's blowing up the joint, man. He's a wizard with sticks, the groove fuse gets lit every time Anania's on the kit. The man's on a mission, so you know it's for real. He's flipping up the rhythm, reinventing the field.